Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'll call our meeting to order. This is the April 8th, 2025 regular meeting of the Salina Public Schools Board of Education. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is approval of the agenda. There are no additions or corrections. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Thanks. Second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. On to recognitions and presentations. First, You Make a Difference Awards with Jennifer Camion.
Good evening. Staff members at Salina Public Schools are nominated by colleagues to receive a You Make a Difference Award for their support of students and the mission of Salina Public Schools. Board of Education members surprise the recipients during their workday with a lapel pin and a handwritten note. Ashley Lilly, paraprofessional at Coronado Elementary School. Ashley's dedication and hard work have made her an important team member at Coronado. Her enthusiasm for learning has resulted in various assignments that allow her to support many students and experience different challenges. Her positive attitude makes a difference every day, and we thank you, Ashley. Erica Moyer, Alexis Newberger, Kat Scheck, and Grayson Krebs, social emotional team at Huesner Elementary School. Huesner's SEL team puts their heart into the work they do with their students. Their calm demeanors help in challenging situations when students are struggling. Huesner families appreciate the daily connections from the team, while Huesner staff value the extra help that they provide. Thank you for making a difference. Priscilla Rader, special education teacher at South High School. On the go each day, Priscilla moves with a portable book carrier through the halls of South High. She teaches class within a class alongside general education teachers, leads IEP meetings, teaches credit recovery classes, and more. Priscilla's dedication to all students makes a difference at South High School. Thank you, Priscilla. Kylie Robertson and Megan Bartholomew, HR assistants here at the district office. Onboarding new employees includes an in-depth orientation and whatever support is needed. Kylie and Megan are the ones who make it happen as members of the district HR team. They are patient and kind as they help staff log into employee programs. The entry point they create for new hires is an experience that conveys why Salina Public Schools is the best place to work. Thank you, Kylie and Megan, for making a difference. Now we'll move on to recognizing the Superintendent's Excellence Awards. If Superintendent Exline will please join me. And we want to thank Derek Witt, journalism teacher at Central High School, who will be taking some pictures for us this evening. Thank you, Derek. Our first award goes to two band students from Central High School. Guillermo Rodriguez is the band director. Will Mr. Rodriguez please join Superintendent Exline in the front? And will the band students please line up as well? These students are both active in the band and jazz band and accompany students at the Regional Solo Festival. They performed at the KSHSAA State Piano Festival, where they were required to play their piano solos memorized. Both received a 1 rating with 0 memory lapses during their performances. Hudson Duff. Jasmine Kassam. Would you all please allow the Board of Education to congratulate you now? Our next award tonight goes to freshman Wyatt Huffman, a bowling student at Central High School. Mike Kilgore and Kevin Miller are the coaches. Will Wyatt, Coach Kilgore, and Coach Miller please join Superintendent Exline in the front. Wyatt finished 6th at regionals, qualifying him to compete at state. This year, he averaged 200 with a high game of 265 and a high series of 742. Please allow the Board of Education to congratulate you. Our next group of awards goes to the bowling students at South High School. Seth White is the coach. Please join Superintendent Exline in the front, and will the bowling students please line up next to him? Both the boys and girls teams were regional runners-up this year. The girls team finished 4th at state, and the boys team finished 8th. As I call your name, students, please step towards Superintendent Exline so you can receive your award. After you've received that, remain standing in the line until everyone's received or been recognized. Boys, Marcus Chavez, Marcello Escalante, Nathan Fries, Nick Gardner, Ledger Michael, Nash Murdoch, Jeff Pipo, Caden Schroller. Girls, Isabella Friedhoff, Riley Lambeth, individual 6th place, Ashton Lee, Addison Marshall, Sibri Montoy, Lakin Soden, Callie Vargas, individual state champion. Please allow the Board of Education to congratulate you. Next, we will recognize swimming and diving students at Central and South High Schools. Dustin Burgard is the coach. Will Coach Burgard please join Superintendent Exline in the front? And will all the swimming and diving students please line up next to them? From Central High, the following students competed in the 200 and 400 freestyle relays: Carson Ablard, Logan Fairclough, Jake Schmitz, Ben Shepard, and from South High, the following student competed in the 1-meter diving: Damon McDonald. Would you please allow the Board of Education to congratulate you now? Our next group of awards goes to the wrestling students at South High School. Kaden Wendell is the coach. Will you please join Superintendent Exline in the front? And will the wrestling students from South please line up as well? The following wrestlers all competed at the state wrestling competition. The girls' team had 2 top 6 finishers. As I call your name, please step towards Superintendent Exline after you've received your award. Please remain standing. Zach McMurray. Tacey Barrett. Aaliyah Brown. Mia Dara. Ninel Garcia, 145 pounds, 6th place. Johanna Jasper. Deja Jenkins. Jenny Wen, 100-pound, 5th place. Maddie Riley. Please allow the board to congratulate you. Our last group of awards goes to the wrestling students at Central High School. Dalton Peters is the coach. Will Coach Peters please join Superintendent Exline in the front? And will the wrestling students from Central please line up as well? The Central High wrestling team had 8 top 6 finishers and 2 state champions. As I call your name, please step towards Superintendent Exline so you can receive your award. Jace Adam, 150-pound, 5th place. Connor Fuller. Julian Glover, 138-pound, state runner-up. Alonzo Guillen. Abram Owings. Cooper Reeves, 190-pound, state champion. Drew Stawise. Tyrus Young. Phoebe Broer. Kiara Codling. 235-pound, 5th place. Isabella Hall. Haley James. Abby Slothauer, 110-pound, 3rd place. Valerie Van Zant, 125-pound, 5th place. Cody Waite. Please allow the Board of Education to congratulate you.
lots of good celebration of USD 305 staff and students, and we'll move on to Salina Education Foundation and some future 305 staff members.
Thank you very much. I'm Kate Lindsay, the Executive Director of the Salina Education Foundation. Thank you to Superintendent Exline and the board members for allowing us to recognize our new LIFT recipients. Let me share, please, a little background on what LIFT means and what it does. LIFT stands for Loan Initiative for Future Teachers, and this forgivable loan program is possible through generous donations from community individuals and corporations. Since its inception in 2006, the LIFT program has awarded $520,000 in forgivable loans to students studying to become teachers, those who will become Salina's future teachers. The LIFT recipients are offered forgivable loans to assist them with educational expenses to become teachers. And then once they return to USD 305 to teach, those loans are forgiven over the first few years they teach here. Recipients are selected in a competitive process by the Education Foundation trustees, USD 305 staff, and community members. This year, we have 5 outstanding recipients, and the trustees are making an investment equal to $40,000 in this group of students. They're invited here tonight to introduce themselves and to tell you a little bit about themselves and explain why they wish to become teachers. And so we'll begin with Abby Comerford.
Hi, my name's Abby Comerford, and I'm a senior at Southeast of Saline. And my plans for next year, I plan to attend K-State for elementary education. I've always wanted to be a teacher and wanted to influence the future generations of our community to make it a better and positive place. I just wanted to thank you all for this opportunity and to receive this scholarship, and thank you for investing in me and my future. Thank you.
Next is Elena Herbal.
All right. Hi, my name is Elena Herbal. I graduated from Salina South here. I'm now a junior at Kansas State University. So when I first started at K-State, I was actually a health major. And so since a young age, I've known I wanted to help people in some way, but I learned very quickly that can be done by being an educator to young children. And so I hope to take my love for learning and spread it to others. So I appreciate you guys listening to me and look forward to working with USD 305.
We have 2 that were not able to attend this evening. One is Lucas Nutter, and he sent something he wanted me to read on his behalf. He said, I have always had a deep passion for learning about the world that surrounds me. This passion grew in elementary school, where I experienced a strong connection to the arts. I gravitated naturally to music, and for the past 12 years have connected with music both as a cellist and musician. Music has provided a unique way to understand and express emotions, tell stories, and appreciate culture. And these experiences have shaped my desire to share the beauty of music with others through the craft of teaching. I recognize that much of what drove me to connect with music is due to the great teachers I have had the chance to work with. For this reason, I would like to share my joy for music with others in the community as a show of thanks. I know there are a multitude of lessons that can be learned through the study of the arts. And next we have Charles Snyder.
Got some note cards. All right, good evening. Thank you guys for listening to me here. I'm Charles Snyder. I grew up in Emporia, Kansas, but I've had my grandparents here. My mom lives here now. So my connection with Salina has been very significant my whole life. When I really decided I wanted to be a teacher, my biggest inspiration was probably my grandma. She's taught special ed for 30 plus years, which is amazing if you ask me. So I don't think if it wasn't for her, I ever would have even decided to become a teacher, let alone go into special ed like I'm going to. So that's a big reason there. And then as for the LIFT scholarship, I feel like getting this extra money support is a blessing. More than anything, it's just another person, another group of people that are in my corner saying, we believe in you, we got you, and I thank y'all very much for that. So.
Our fifth recipient is also unable to be here tonight because she's one of our soccer coaches and she's coaching a game tonight. Katie Snyder. Katie's a South High grad and is studying to become a high-incidence special education teacher through Fort Hays State University. She credits the passionate, understanding, and dedicated teacher she had growing up with making an immediate and lifelong impact on her life. That impact is also why she wants to follow in their footsteps and pursue education as her career. Katie's work as a para and as a coach has reaffirmed her passion for teaching students. And then I'll ask the three recipients to come back up, and then you'll have a chance to meet them. And then if you'll let the board members, congratulations. Again, a congratulations to our LIFT recipients, and we look forward to you becoming exemplary teachers and returning to Salina Public Schools. Next, I'd like to take a moment to share information about the Salina Education Foundation grant programs. I am awed by the fantastic opportunities our donors and trustees provide for students and staff of Salina Public Schools, and especially by the great work our teachers do every day in the classroom and the ideas they come up with for their grants. Fabulous experiences and projects are happening all the time in our classrooms. Since its founding, Salina Education trustees have awarded $846,000 to teachers and staff across the district to enhance the outstanding work they do in their classrooms. This year, the trustees have committed $28,250 for the 25-26 school year. These grants are funded through charitable gifts made by USD 305 teachers and staff, SEF business partners, and other supporters across our community and from all over. We're all very grateful for the kindness and generosity of our donors who help make the grant projects happen in our schools. The projects we supported simply would not happen without the support of our donors. All of this year's grant recipients will be recognized in their respective school buildings throughout the rest of this month, and we're excited to get that prize patrol going and out to the schools to visit them in person. We awarded 21st century grants, providing support for classroom teachers and giving them an opportunity to enrich their students' learning experiences and inspire creativity. Lindsay Carlson at Central High School was awarded a grant for Central's Book Club, Connection, Community, and Create. Jennifer K. Higgins awarded a grant for the Tinker Lab at South Middle School's library. Elizabeth Kenyon is receiving a grant for the Lakewood Middle School Makerspace. Shelley Parks at CKCIE is awarded a grant for Block Fund for STEM learning. Lindsay Radial at Stewart was awarded a grant for math enrichment activities. And Crystal Wishapple, I'm sorry about that, at Sunset will receive a grant for flexible seating. Outside the box grants are aimed at rewarding creativity and expanding students' understanding of the community and the world. Mr. Chrisman, principal at Lakewood, and Mr. Dooley, principal at South Middle, received a grant for the Downtown Cultural Crawl, a collaborative project with various Salina organizations, and all of our 7th graders get to participate in this outstanding activity. Katie Lidgett from Sunset, on behalf of all of our elementary librarians, is receiving a grant for book break author visits for all of the elementary schools. Elizabeth Burke, Kim Warren, Brittany Kistner, and Nikki Chamberlain at South High are receiving a grant for Salina Speaks, a community storytelling project. And Shyland Wheaton at South High is receiving a grant for a theater day at South High. We also awarded Joan Barheit special education grants, which provide funds to support projects benefiting students receiving special education services. Mandy Ediger at Lakewood is receiving a grant for the meeting the needs of changing population request. And Darcy Redden at CKCIE is receiving a grant for visualizing success, elevating education with lesson picks. The Salina Education Foundation Allocations Committee also committed $7,000 for sudden opportunity grants for the 25-26 school year. And these grant funds are very helpful to our staff because they help fund immediate needs that come up throughout the school year that teachers might not have known to plan for. And once again, I'd like to thank you for supporting the Salina Education Foundation. We appreciate so very much everything that you do and your help in supporting the students and staff of Salina Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate and SCF, for that great presentation. Now on to item 4D on our agenda, visible learning update with Mr. Brandon Cheeks and Sunset Elementary School.
We'd like to thank each and every one of you for allowing us to present tonight. It would be myself, Mrs. Clark, Mrs. Ozores, Mr. McDowell's unable to be here, and I will read his at the very end. Sunset overall goal, we wanted to focus on learning intentions and success criteria. We wanted to have clear goals for students to understand the purpose of learning, and our success criteria to guide how students and teachers know when they've achieved the learning goal. We also have been focused on feedback, offering continuous and constructive feedback that helps students progress. And we also want to hear the students' voice by encouraging students to take ownership of their own learning and involvement in setting learning goals and reflection on progress. Our first goal, by December 2024, 100% of the teachers have posted learning intentions and success criteria for whole group, ELA, and math, as measured by observer walkthroughs. In December 2024, 100% of the classroom had learning intentions posted, so we're really proud of that, and 90.5 had success criteria posted. These are just some examples of some of them that's throughout the building.
Our second goal was that by May of 2025, 65% of students would be able to describe what they are learning with a level 2 response. And based on our third quarter walkthroughs, we have already achieved this. We are at 70.9%. Our final and third goal was that 100% of teachers would communicate and refer to the learning intentions and success criteria at the beginning, within, and at the end of their whole group lessons. And we are collecting data on this through an anonymous survey. And as you can see, this is the goal we have the most work on going forward. We are having about 70% of teachers refer to it at the beginning of the lesson, but we need to improve during the lesson and at the end. So to address these goals, our next steps, number one, we have our learning intentions and success criteria posted, but we would like to work on the quality of them through our PLCs and professional development. And second, to address that third goal, we would like to develop strategies for teachers to refer to those learning intentions and success criteria.
We also been focused on the learning dispositions. These are the ones that were selected by the staff that we felt really related mostly to Sunset. We also include them in our morning announcements, and they're also on the website. In the future, we're looking to try to create some posters throughout the buildings.
As well with these dispositions, we have a monthly Eagle Landing to celebrate our student success. I will always reflect on our disposition of the week and kind of explain it in context of some things going on in the school.
All right, so I'm going to share my experience with visible learning. I'm a fourth grade teacher, so this is a fourth grade perspective. But every day I make sure I post my learning intention and success criteria. And I make sure when I post my learning intention, I'm using the language from the standard and it's student friendly, so everyone's understanding. And then with my success criteria, I really like it because it holds me accountable and makes sure that I'm really focused on my key points of my lesson. And we kind of use it as a checklist throughout my lesson. And so what I like to do is as we've gone through the success criteria, I'll reference back to it with the students so they can see the progression. And oftentimes too, with each success criteria, I'll do a fist to 5, just understanding. And so right then and there, I'm getting immediate feedback on maybe areas we need to work on or if we can keep moving forward. And then kind of going back to what they were talking about, I've really worked hard referencing throughout the lesson, so not only at the beginning, but in the middle and in the end, just to get that really through to them. Because it's amazing when you post this, you don't have the question of what are we doing today? They automatically know where they're looking and the steps to follow, and that's really cool to see. And then for learning dispositions, I've worked last year with this too, but we have the dispositions we talk about through the morning announcement in the assembly, and I just make sure that one day a week during my morning meeting, this is our conversation. So we talk about the word, what does it look like in school, what does it look like outside of school, and there are times too, during reading, I'm able to use this as a character trait almost, is our character acting optimistic, which is our learning disposition of the week this week. So that's been pretty cool too, to reflect back and encouraging those students to have those characteristics when it comes to their learning.
All right, Mr. McDowell's learning experience. I did want to do the whole presentation like that, but they told me I couldn't do that. So I'm going to read what he said, but this is Mr. McDowell. He's a nice guy. Huh? Oh, yes, and we'll get him to come at a later one. When I first was introduced to visible learning, it started that visible teachers seeing learning through the eyes of the students and visible learners seeing themselves as their own teacher. This immediately made me think of my 1-year-old son, who at the beginning of his lifelong learning journey. How does a 1-year-old relate to visible learning? Here's an example. If I get my son a new toy, I begin to take the toy out of the package, and before I know it, he snatches it out of my hand and begins to explore any and everything that he can about the new toy. He does not wait for me to explain what the toy is, its different functions, purposes, or abilities. He wants to discover those things out on his own. His mind is like many other children, in fact, that they are inquisitive problem solvers that want opportunities to take ownership in their own learning. Now I would never give my 1-year-old son a T-bone steak with a fork and knife and say, you be the leader in your own dietary journey tonight. That is where I come in to provide structure and support for him. The visible teacher has a similar role. Our job is to find that zone of personal development within the learning journey of each student and provide efficient scaffolding opportunities with large effect sizes in order for all students to still be the leaders in their learning in order to find success every day. Visible learning is a journey that clearly states objectives and criteria to meet those objectives. As I have explored creating a classroom that encompasses visible learning, I have found that my students all have the drive to take on challenge to reach a goal. 22 8 and 9-year-old minds collaborating ideas together to find success in accomplishing objectives is a beautiful thing to witness. I'm fortunate and I get to be a part of this visible learning journey every day. I would like to thank USD 305 for providing the opportunity to be a part of these student journeys and share my thoughts and experiences with you all. I apologize I could not be there in person today. My little 1-year-old visible learner is home sick this evening. And again, that's him. I got a picture if you want it. Thank you for supporting our visible learning journey. It has really made an impact on Sunset, and I think with our professional development, it's been great, and I think district office staff as well. We have really enjoyed this.
Thank you, guys.
Moving on to our consent agenda. Those items tonight are minutes of the March 11th, 2025 regular meeting, the personnel report, financial reports, including the March bills list, February treasurer's report, February investment report, and February journal entries. Approval of the following encumbrance listings. First to CDWG in the amount of $58,960 for the Go Guardian annual renewal. To Ray Roofing in the amount of $110,985 for the roofing project of the kindergarten wing at Hughesner Elementary School, and finally to constructive playthings for the purchase of 2 freestanding shade structures at Heartland Programs in the amount of $22,393. Approval of the Kitchen 2 cooler freezer remodel bid to Pond Construction in the amount of $908,057. Approval of the Lakewood Middle School boiler replacement bid to American Boiler Mechanical in the amount of $241,100. Approval of the Sunset Elementary School flooring bid to Star Flooring in the amount of $100,814.67. Approval of the Heartland Education Center vehicle bid to Home Automotive Center in the amount of $24,302, which includes the trade-in allowance. Approval of the South High request to apply for a grant in the amount of $10,000 from the Greater Salina Community Foundation. Approval of the Central High fundraising activity from June 9th, 2025 to August 23rd, 2025. And approval of the South High fundraising activity from July 2025 through August 2025. Approval of the Lakewood Middle School fundraising activity from September 15th, 2025 to October 1st, 2025. And approval of the South Middle School fundraising activity from September 17th, 2025 to October 8th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve those?
I move that we approve.
Bonnie moves. Any second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. We are now to our public forum. We did have a request to speak tonight at public forum from Lenny Zavensky. Do not see anyone present though. So we will move on in our agenda to our action agenda, item 7A, 2025-2026 Athletic Handbook Review with Lynn Exline.
So last month I presented the updates to the athletic handbook, and since that time we took your feedback into account and we've made a couple changes that are reflected in your packet this evening. One of the questions that I was asked was about the possible need to add a girls' head coach. I did meet with the athletic directors about that, and we do have a head and an assistant coach on the boys and girls side at middle school because they have separate seasons. So they practice in 2 separate seasons, compete at 2 separate times, and so we've divided those programs. At the high school, though, the recommendation remains to have a head coach, a head assistant, which is a new position, and then 3 assistants. Both of the seasons at high school are during the winter, and the practices are joint. Both our boys program and our girls program benefits from all of the coaches, and in fact, our head boys coaches many times go with the girls if they aren't on the same night, and the competitions allow that to happen. What this would allow is the head coach to assign practice and competition responsibilities for all of the coaches to work with all the athletes, and they do compete sometimes at the same venue and sometimes at different venues, but same techniques, same strategies, and so the recommendation, they said, really would stay, that we would have, add that one head assistant coach, and that we continue to evaluate. I did look at participation numbers in 24-25. On the boys' side, we had 35 wrestlers at one of our high schools and 35 at the other. And on the girls' side, we had 21 and 15. So a little bit smaller numbers still, but we will continue to watch those. Those have grown since 2020-21. We had only 12 female wrestlers, and now we're at 36. So you can see that over time, those numbers have grown. The other change that we made, one of you had recommended that we remove the actual coaching positions from the handbook, and so because those do fluctuate during the year based upon participation, and so that change is also reflected in the updated information that is before you. But I did want you to know that I'd followed up on just the coaching allocations with the ADs based upon the questions that you asked last month. So with that, I'll entertain any questions or a motion to approve the updates to the athletic handbook.
Questions, comments?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve the 2025-2026 athletic handbook as presented.
A second. Dana seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Next on our agenda, the second reading of policy review with Aaron Wright.
Good evening. At your March meeting, you had a policy work session where you reviewed recommended changes to the policies for this round. At that time, we sort of reviewed those. You wordsmithed some of those, and we came out from that with additional amendments to 8 other policies. So what you have in your packet tonight are the recommended changes to policies that were either originally presented in red or those that were added after the last work session, and those are in blue. So we recommend your approval of those tonight. If you have any questions.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the policy revisions as presented.
It's in a second. All seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. On to item 7C, 2025-2026 Chromebook Handbook with Shannon Rector.
Good evening. We have actually no proposed changes to the Chromebook handbook, and so it was reviewed by several individuals to look to see if there was anything that needed to be updated, and we did not find anything, and so we would like to continue on with the handbook as is.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the 2025-2026 Chromebook Student Handbook as presented.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
Ian seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. And 7D, non-resident school capacity recommendations with Shannon Rector.
Whoops, and I probably just did this incorrectly. I apologize. Go down. Thank you. Read mode or full screen? There we go.
Yes, it was. I am bringing back to you, or actually bringing to you for the first time this year about the non-resident enrollment. And so I did speak in February in regards to our residential enrollment. And so we have finished that internal residential enrollment process. And so from that process, I just kind of want to update you on our results there. We did have 5 elementary students request open seats, and we were able to get them into the building that they requested. We did not have any requests for middle school. We had 2 requests for high school, and we were able to place them. And then we also had 2 individuals that did request schools that were not open. So there were no open seats available. But we did talk to them about which school had open seats, and so that way they can make a determination of what best fit their family. And so tonight, what I am bringing you is the non-resident enrollment expectations. So the board packet outlines the application process, how capacity was determined, the number of seats that are available to the non-resident students, and the timelines. And so since January 1st, we have had the application open to our non-residents to meet the state expectations. And on May 1st, we will provide the available seats that are available on our website. We will continue to have the application open until June 15th. It will close on June 15th, and then we will have till July 15th to make notifications of any students that were accepted or non-accepted. And so we make sure that we communicate with each and every family. And so it would be my recommendation that you approve the projected numbers of the open seats available to non-resident students as presented. But first, I will take any questions if you have any.
Questions or comments?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the projected enrollment and number of open seats available to non-resident students as presented.
Dana seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. And Now onto our discussion agenda. We have all the 2025-2026 building handbooks. First up, elementary, with Crystal Lindenberger. Hello.
Good evening. We have two this evening for elementary. One is for our elementary school transfer request. We are removing this section from our elementary handbook. Basically, just kind of going back to our transfer of like what Shanna just presented to all of you. We put that on our website now. We don't put it in our handbook any longer. We make that open to the public, so we're actually going to remove that from our website. The second thing is our discipline infraction. We've never had a basic outline in our student handbook or elementary handbook giving clear expectations of what that is for our families and having that consistency elementary, middle school, and high school. So we're just adding that to our elementary handbook so that it's open to our parents to see actually what each infraction means to them. So that has been a request from all of our principals and our families so that we're having clear communication and it's consistent elementary, middle, and high. Have any questions for me in regards to the deletion and the addition?
Questions or comments? Desire to make a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we move this to the action agenda and approve it with the modifications noted.
Thank you. Is there a second? And seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to the middle school handbook and invite Shannon back up.
Good evening. And so to continue on with what Mrs. Lindenberg said, we're looking at making sure that we're communicating with our families in the best way possible, and also looking at alignment within that secondary schools for middle school and high school. So in the handbook, middle school handbook recommendations, the first one that we have is a removal of the major disciplines definition and consequences. And so as you are having your packet, you'll see what was provided to parents before. And so there was an ISS and an OSS chart. And what you'll see in the recommended chart, which is the same for both middle school and high school, you'll see that it's now organized by infraction. And so that way, parents and administration and teachers can see those lists of things kind of in order. And so you'll see that there are times when it may be an ISS or an OSS, so it really gets it into one place to make it more kind of straightforward to all involved parties. The next thing that you'll see in that chart is it also kind of just outlines the ideas, or not the ideas, the types of actions that might take place. And so one of the things that I want to point out from the recommended information is that we really wanted to make sure that the administrators still had that capacity to think about each and every circumstance by the individual factors in that particular incident. And so you'll see some language change there, and we really wanted to make sure that we gave the ability for principals to look at the incidents, think through each of the aspects that contributed to that particular infraction, and making sure that they can then act accordingly. And so that's just why you see a little bit of change in language. With this, we are recommending that we have that current charts replaced by that new infraction discipline action chart. The second piece to the middle school recommendations is that you'll see some language on promotion and retention. That language really is to provide, again, further clarity and to also identify the specific subjects that the principals are looking at as they're making those decisions about summer school and what kind of actions they need to do to support students to prepare them for that next school year. And so you'll see that there is some clarification there on adding that it is looking at all core subjects: English, math, reading, social studies, and science. So just some clarification of language for the middle school recommendation. As you look at the high school recommendation, you're going to see in the discussion agenda is that, again, we're looking at the charts for discipline, and you'll see that there is some language change in the middle school and high school charts, and that is just to provide some clarity to that language that was there, and then also, again, looking at replacing it with that same chart that we saw earlier. The other piece to the high school handbook is that there is an academic requirement graduation requirements. And there's some language there that we wanted to look at to make sure that we were kind of following common practice. And so the language that was there really spoke to students that come in their second semester of their senior year. Practice is when students come to us and they have met all of our graduation requirements, we are going to provide that student with a diploma, and they would become a graduate of one of our high schools. The unique aspect to that when you're a senior, there are times when a student comes into our community and really where they want to earn their diploma is from the school that they just came from. And so what happens is that the principals of the high schools work with that other high school, and so it will depend upon where that student wants to achieve their diploma. And so there are times when a student may finish with Central High School, but they actually get their diploma from Concordia because that is where they had been, and we want to make sure that we honor that. And then also the fact that if we do have students that have met our graduation requirements, we do not want to put a barrier to them to be able to earn a diploma for Salina Public Schools. And so we've updated that language there to follow the practices that we have in place. Are there any questions? Yes.
So I noticed you took out the specific days for, I do like really how you guys have organized this, and it seems very clear. Was there a reason behind taking days out?
One of the reasons behind taking days out is because when we look at an individual incident, we look at that from all the factors. And so depending upon how many times this occurrence has happened and looking at kind of the severity of the incident, there are times when it would go to a 3-day out-of-school suspension directly because of the magnitude of the incident. And we wanted to make sure that our administrators had that ability. In the old language, you'll see that it did say that they have the authority to make that decision about the consequence. And so what sometimes happened is that when they saw that 1 day, that 2 day, that 3 day, that's what a family might have really focused on and kind of dug in their heels on. And we really wanted them to think through it from the perspective of we have to look at each individual incident individually and make the determination based upon the characteristics of that incident.
Just to clarify for me, who makes that decision?
So the principals, the administrators are going to be making that decision, and they look at board policy. They look at, the guidelines that they have within the handbook. And then also as a administrative staff, we talk about discipline each and every year. And so we make sure that we understand kind of what is that common threshold to, is this an ISS, is this an OSS? So we do have consistency across our buildings, but we also want to make sure that principals have that authority to make that decision on the level of discipline action.
Okay. So because there isn't that clear 3-day, 5-day, which I totally get, let's say in my home, Bill would be less and I would be more. So how are you guys going to just to be honest, how are you going to differentiate with schools and make sure that everything is even across it, so nobody's doing one heavier or one lighter?
And that really is that consistency that we build at the beginning of the school year. So one of the things that we do each year is we look at what are the kind of the terminology that we're using, making sure that we're using that consistently across the buildings. Like you'll see on there that you might have the word fight and then physical aggression. So what's the difference between a fight and a physical aggression? So we make sure that we kind of have that inter-rater reliability between our buildings. One of the other things that we do is that we look at our discipline data and we talk through that. Okay, we see that we've had this many incidents at this building and we haven't had many incidents at another building. Why is that? And so then we talk about what are the characteristics of why we coded it the way we did to then build that consistency. You're welcome.
I want to add to that. We do have a discipline dashboard that allows the building principals to dig into their own data and to see what the response is that they have had by infraction. So they can look at every single time they had a fight, what was the disciplinary response, and then we can do that same thing at the district level and compare buildings, which allows us to see where maybe we're getting inconsistencies and to talk through that. The other thing that is going to be really nice is with our new version of Skyward that will start next year, that will be embedded right into that student information system instead of a second dashboard. and they will be able to look at that information real time right in the dashboard. So, but I hear you, and I do think that's a conversation that we'll need to continue to have, but we do have a mechanism to do that. And then to talk about the nuances, because there are times where we have a suspension, and it makes more sense that we really do need a short-term suspension of 10 days rather than the 5 before we have the hearing based upon what happened. And just so that flexibility is there.
And to speak to what Mrs. Exline said about our Skyward and our student information system, one of the aspects of this alignment of this table it's really to make sure that we have common language, but also that our language matches in both our handbook and then also how it was recorded in Skyward and doesn't meet state and federal kind of descriptions. And so that was one of the things that we looked at. We looked at the descriptions from state and federal, and then we also looked at terminology to make sure that we were understanding it all at the same level.
Thank you.
And I would say just because the upper graph or upper chart is no longer part of the handbook, that still provides some guidance and internal help on making those decisions moving forward. It's just not we've set it in stone, and families are expecting from a certain perspective what an outcome it will be, sort of thing.
I think what it'll do is it'll enrich the conversations that happen between the administration and the families. Because when we think about discipline's not about that consequence. Discipline really is about that conversation and making sure that we provide ways for that student to change that behavior, to learn a replacement behavior, or just to step back and say, okay, I made a mistake. Here's how I get back into school. Here's what I need to do. And so when you kind of remove some of that tension, maybe from that number 1 or number 2 or number 3 days that they were expecting, and make it about the conversation of what is it that we need to do to make your child successful, I think that's going to enrich kind of those hard conversations that we often have to have.
I like the fact that our administrators are able to have some discretion. The challenge I have is if we get one school where we've got one reaction, another school we've got another, and then the community perception of that. And I guess as I'm thinking of that, I know we've got dashboards and these things, is there a mechanism for oversight from the district level when we have suspensions, when we have those things, so that we can catch those things in advance and not be reacting to them on the backside?
Yeah. And one of the reasons that we have this adjustment to this table is just for that reason. Because as we're looking at discipline, which we constantly do, Mrs. Exline spoke to those dashboards. When you think about like the strategic plan data that you look at, and we looked at the ones that were identified as something that would be relating to social emotional offenses, we have conversations about that. And how is it that how many students have had a discipline for that? Is how many times has it been ISS? How many times has it been OSS? Does that look different at one school compared to the other? And so we do have an internal checks and balances mechanism for that. And also, I think that one of the things that's really important is that as we look at that, what we'll have kind of on the back end is that we will have that discussion at the beginning of the school year where we'll sit down and we'll look at all of this terminology and we'll talk through scenarios. That's one of the things I think our principals enjoy the most. Okay, I had this happen at my school. What would you have done? And we kind of pull it apart and talk through it. And so that's our internal checks and balances. We also, when students are out of school suspended, we do have that information that comes to the district office. So we're looking at the reports, how long those suspensions are, what was the evidence that basically rose it to that particular level. And so we do have some internal mechanisms.
Yes.
This may be a little bit granular, but I was just looking at the obscenity, profanity. There's two, one that's just general and one's directed at staff. And when it's just general, it goes to the teacher and then the principal, et cetera. But when it's against the staff, it just skips all those and goes straight to ISS. So I'm just curious what the thinking was on that.
And so again, on those infractions, that there are some that are usually bypassed at certain levels. So that was some of the wording that we put in there. One of the reasons for that is that when you have a situation that happens in a classroom and you have a teacher that has experienced that kind of direct, wording towards them, statement towards them, and so forth, we want to make sure that we also have a learning environment where that teacher has the ability to say, you know what, this isn't something I'm going to put judgment on. This was words that were directed straight at me. I need my administrator's help to have that conversation with that student. And so that's one of the reasons why you see that teacher level is shaded in, and that we're trying to say, you know what, that's really going to probably go to the administrator directly, so that way that teacher has some support in that kind of situation.
Questions, comments, others?
Mr. President, I would move that we move this to the action agenda and approve it with modifications made.
Both middle school and high school?
Yes, sir. Do you need two separate motions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I did go middle school, high school.
That would be for the middle school motion first.
20 seconds for middle school. All those in favor, or any further discussion, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
That we move the high school changes to the action agenda and approve it as presented.
Second. Deanna seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to school board reports and upcoming dates of importance. Those upcoming dates: Saturday, April 12th, Teacher of the Year Region 1 ceremony at 5 p.m. at Tony's Pizza Event Center. Wednesday, April 23rd, Board of Education building visit to South Middle School. Thursday, May 8th, retirement recognition event, 4:30 to 6:30 at Martinelli's. Sunday, May 18th, graduations at the Tony's Pizza Event Center. South High School at 2 p.m. and Central High School at 5 p.m. And Thursday, June 26th, Line Adult Education Center graduation at 7 p.m. at Lakewood Middle School. And we'll start with you on board report.
Yes, I think I started the month after the last meeting by going to the Capitol in Topeka with Kansas Association of School Boards and with Ms. Exline. We didn't get a chance to talk to any of our legislators, but we learned a lot in our discussions and did a lot of running around the Capitol building. I attended the CKCIE Board of Control meeting, and I could only attend an hour at the first or so and had to leave, so I'm interested in hearing more about that from Gabe. I attended the Parks and Rec Advisory Board with Paul and learned that Parks and Rec has 60 employees and they do a lot of the basic maintenance jobs for the city, in addition to caring for the parks and the community centers, the ball diamonds, the pickleball courts, and the picnic shelters. That's all. Thank you.
Good evening. I attended the Smoky Hill Educational Service Center Executive Board meeting where we discussed disbursements, financial reports, Executive Director evaluation process, as well as the SHEC business partnership and project updates that were going on. As well, also attended the Salina Parks and Recreation Advisory Board Committee, and we further discussed the overall viability of the installation of the fitness court in Salina Parks, which resulted in the consensus of us thinking that it was definitely worth looking into further and just getting into the finer details of the installation and how it will impact the Parks and Rec Committee and the City of Salina. And that was all I have.
I gave a You Make a Difference award to Ashla at Coronado and attended the Equity Council meeting and the lift reception this evening.
I handed out 2 You Make a Difference awards. Those are just so fun, and I appreciate whoever started it, because everybody likes to be encouraged. And then I attended the play at Central, and very talented kids, especially the staging was amazing.
The report.
I presented You Make a Difference awards to Kylie and Megan in the HR office. have worked a little bit with Keith, our incoming superintendent, on coordinating a few details, and then attended a CKCIE Board of Control meeting last month where that group is into the budgeting and projections for the next school year, and that will continue it at this month's meeting. We'll just say fluctuations and changes both at the state and federal level for legislation and funding do not help us create certainty in classrooms for staff, students in our community. So we have lots of things to work through there and decide and figure out as we make those allocations for the 25-26 school year. On to superintendent's report. Superintendent Exline.
Okay, just a couple things. I did go to the Commissioners Advisory Council, and one of the things that Dr. Watson said that we really need to be watching is what is happening with federal funding. As you know, recently there was increased flexibility with federal funds, and they can be now used to support private school vouchers. And so he said that what we really need to be watching is where that money is sent when it comes to the state level for disbursement. On the funding side, I want you to know that recent legislation removed reimbursement for professional learning for USD 305. That's about $85,000. It removed reimbursement for the mentoring program for USD 305. That's about $40,000. That's a couple teachers. It removed CTE transportation funding. That is transportation we provide every single day between our two high schools for our students that are enrolled in our CTE classes and back and forth out to Salina Tech. And they did give us a $10 million increase in SPED funding, but $2.5 million of that is actually going to be needed to backfill for a loss of federal funds. So we anticipate that for us, that would be about a $90,000 increase is all. Keep in mind, we're transferring $5.4 million each year from general fund to special education. So $7.5 million statewide, when Salina alone is transferring $5.4 is a drop in the bucket. What that means is, that $5.4 million for us means that we could hire additional 72 staff members. We could have significant raises. We could have really bolster programming for students. And so I just want everybody to be aware of what is happening on the funding side. There is also a sunset on the current funding formula, and right now the committee to rewrite that formula is meeting at the state level. I started to watch today their March 31st meeting. It was fascinating. They were learning about what all 50 states are doing in terms of funding the base aid per pupil and what they're doing in terms of weightings for students who have are second language learners, students who qualify for special education services. And so lots of discussion about what it would look like to rewrite that formula. Remember that funding formula is, Lisa would speak to this, there is a lot to it. The current formula does do weightings for career and technical education classes, students who are English language learners, students who are at risk, students who receive special education services. And so there's just a lot of moving parts there. And so some attention to what's happening at that committee level and providing feedback to those on that committee would be time well spent. Ann, did you have a question?
Yes. Are any of our local legislators on that committee for the funding?
Closest one would be Scott Hill, and he is Dickinson County. Is that right, Lisa? Okay. So just something for us to keep our eye on and to continue to advocate, because just like in our homes, we're seeing increased costs at school, and we want to be able to provide the very, very best education that we can for students and the very best environment for our teachers to be able to provide that. They work hard every day, and so we want to make that happen for our community and students. I do want you to know Kindergarten Roundup is ready to go. We will be hosting that registration in April. And any child who's 5 years old by August 31st is eligible to register. So if you know any little people, please send them our way so that we can make sure that they're getting the information that they need. And there is a sign up for that on our USD 305 website if you need a place to direct people, or you can certainly direct them here to the district office. And then finally, we are going to dedicate the Central High tennis court that you approved earlier in honor of Jim Lavolo. And that dedication is set for Tuesday the 15th, so next Tuesday at noon. And we'll meet at the Central High tennis courts and just be able to spend a little time remembering Jim and making that dedication.
Thank you. Now on to executive sessions for this evening. We've got two on our agenda. First, 12A, negotiations, and...
Let's do at least 30.
Okay. 30 minutes for that. Who wants to...
I could try.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education go into executive session at 6:45. Is that too long? Okay, 6:45 for 30 minutes for the purpose of discussing employee negotiations. Because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might jeopardize resolution of the negotiation issues, and that the Board of Education reconvene into open session at 7:15 in the SEC room.
Jim seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. We will recess into executive session at 6:45, reconvene in this room at 7:15. I'll call us back to order from that executive session. We do need additional time.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education go into executive session at 7:20 for 20 minutes for the purpose of discussing employer-employee negotiations. Because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might jeopardize the resolution of the negotiation issues, and that the Board of Education reconvene into open session at 7:40 in the SEC room.
Second.
Seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0. We'll be back in here at 7:40. We are back in open session and have no action to take as a result of that executive session. We do have another executive session on the agenda for personnel for 5 minutes.
Mr. President, I move that we go into executive session I move that the Board of Education go into executive session at 7:43 for 5 minutes for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel and their contractual obligations, because if this matter were discussed in open session, it might invade the privacy of those discussed, and that the Board of Education can reconvene into open session at 7:48 in the SEC room.
Dan, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0. We'll be back here at 7:48. We are back in open session. We do have action to approve as a result of that executive session.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the renewal of the administrative contracts.
Is there a second? Bonnie seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Next on our agenda is a work session for the capital improvement plan review. This will end our live stream. Thanks to those online who joined us this evening. We'll see you in May.